Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Kelvin here. So you want to YOLO into the stock market, but your boss isn't paying you enough? I got good news for you because there's this magic tool called margin. With margin, you will open your investing world to all kinds of possibilities like hoarding big. Wait, hoarding big? That's too little. Instead, with margin, you can hoard super big. Because with margin, it's like your money has turned into super saiyan and you get a buying power that's over 9,000. All jokes aside, definitely ignore everything that I said just now. Margin is actually a double-edged sword. While it can help you earn more money, it can also make you lose a lot of money if you are not careful. So, in this video, I want to explain everything you need to know about margin. What is it? How to calculate it? I will also show you a real example of margin so you know how much margin you have. But before I start, I would greatly appreciate it if you can help to tap the like button because it will help out with the channel. In return, I will show you Michael Jackson doing the moonwalk. Alright, let's start right now. Okay, let's talk about margin. When most people hear about margin, they'll be like, don't go near it, it's dangerous, it burns us. Meanwhile, they totally don't understand how margin works. So, in very simple terms, buying on margin means borrowing money from the stockbroker to buy stock. The word margin means collateral, and the collateral is your stock. If you cannot afford to pay back your margin loan, the broker will sell your stock to get back their money. It's the exact same thing as borrowing money from the bank to buy a house, and your house is the collateral. If you cannot afford to pay back your house loan, the bank will sell your house to get back their money. So that's margin. Okay, let's look at how margin works. Let's say the margin requirement is 70%. The word requirement means that the broker requires you to come up with 70% of the money yourself. Then the broker will lend you the remaining 30%. So let's imagine a fruit company, Apple, is now $1,000. Just imagine it haven't reached $1,000 yet. If you want to buy Apple on margin, you will need to come up with $700 cash and the broker will lend you the remaining $300. Now let's say Apple goes up to $2,000. So you paper hands and you sell, like you always do. Then the guy be like, he sold? Pump it. And the stock keeps going higher. But that's not the point. Let's check how much profit you made when you sold at $2,000. Because you borrowed $300 from the broker, you first need to return that money back to them because you are a Lannister. And Lannister always pays his debts. After that, you will end up with 1.7k. So the profit is $1,000. Or in other words, you got a 143% return on your money. Nice. Meanwhile, if you didn't use margin and you bought Apple directly, your profit is just $1,000. Or in other words, you only got a 100% return on your money. It ain't much, but it's honest work. So as you can see, using margin loan to buy stocks will give you higher return if the stock goes up. But obviously, it's not always to the moon, right? Sometimes it's not stonks. So let's see what happens when you bought Apple at $1,000 and it drops to $500 instead. If you sold at $500, you will still need to return $300 loan back to the broker. And you will end up with just $200. This means that you lost a total of $500, but if you have not bought with margin loan, you have only lost $500 or 50% loss, which is still painful, but not as painful as when you bought using margin. So what does this tell us? Margin loan is an amplifier. You either amplify your gains or you amplify your losses. Okay, so that was the basics of margin. Hopefully you are still following, yeah? Next, let's look at something which a lot of people are scared of. Margin call. For this, I'll use this article from First Trade because it's easier to understand. Okay, this first image is the thing that I explained just now. But this time, the margin requirement is 50%. This means he is required to use 50% cash to buy the stock and he can borrow another 50% loan. So he has $10,000 buying power. Okay, yeah? Now, let's look at how margin call happens. After buying a stock, there's something called maintenance margin. Basically, maintenance margin is the equity that you have to maintain after buying a stock. Back to the example, in this case, the maintenance margin is 30%. This means that your equity needs to be at least 30%. If the stock drops by 30% from 10k to 7k, if you do some simple primary school math, you will find that your equity portion has dropped to 28.4%. Okay, two things can happen. First is the broker will call you and be like, hello, you need to top up more money to meet the 30% maintenance margin. They will give you time to do it, but if you still don't do it, they will just sell the stocks to get back their money. Or in another scenario, they won't even call you and will just sell your stocks. This is what IBKR will do. They specifically say that there are no margin calls at IB. They don't even want to call you lor. The only thing you get is they will tell you that they liquidated your stock and thank you very much. So don't play ho. Okay, now you know what's maintenance margin and what's margin call. Different brokers and different stocks will have different margin requirements. For example, in IBKR, if you look at Tesla stock, the initial margin requirement is 40%, meaning if you buy the stock, at least 40% must come from your own money. Then the maintenance margin is 40%. If you go lower than 40%, they will sell a stock. Just in case you're wondering, long means buy, short means sell. So if you want to short sell Tesla, you only need 33% initial margin. But let's not short sell. Some noobs have done it and they have lost a lot of money. Meanwhile, if you check Tesla on Tiger Brokers, the initial margin is just 30% and maintenance margin is 25%. Oh yeah, one more thing, because you are borrowing money, you need to pay interest. Obviously, different brokers will charge different interest. For example, on IBKR, if you borrow lesser than 100k, the interest is 1.58%. But take note, if you're using the IBKR Singapore version, the interest is 2.58%. Welcome to Singapore. For Tiger Brokers, the interest is 4.08% and for Momo, it is 4.8%. Nice. All this just means that if you borrow money to buy stocks, you have to factor in the margin interest as additional cost, yeah. So that was everything you need to know about margin. Hopefully, it wasn't too difficult to understand, yeah? Now, let me show you how all this works in real life. As you can see, this is my interactive brokers. There's a few important things. First is equity with loan. This just means how much equity I have on my stocks, my options, my cash, and so on. In this case, it is $660,000. But the more important number is maintenance margin, 418k. This means I need to maintain at least 418k equity in my portfolio. If it drops below 418k, IBKR be like, where's Johnny? And will start selling my stocks to get back their money. But here's an interesting question. Yes, I know my maintenance margin is 418k. But what's my remaining quota? What do I mean by that? If you look at the first trade example, because he took a 50% margin loan and his maintenance margin is 30%, his quota is 2k. Once his equity drops below the maintenance margin, he will be margin called. Back to my IBKR. Where can I see my quota? It's actually this number, SMA, which stands for Special Memorandum Account. At first, I was super blur and I don't know what's that. So I checked the examples, checked the super long formula. Here's what I realized. The simple formula for SMA is just equity with loan value minus maintenance margin. In short, it's the remaining quota before IBKR go and margin call me. In my case, my remaining quota is 296k. If it reaches $0, then I'll be in trouble. So if you totally don't understand everything that I said for the past 8 minutes, just know that as long as your SMA doesn't reach $0, and you'll be alright. Okay, so that was all the basics of margin. But I won't go any deeper. Later you guys fall asleep. Here are my thoughts on margin. Margin is a very dangerous thing. While it can give you high returns, it can make you lose a lot of money. So I will not recommend you to use margin unless you absolutely know what you are doing. And even if you use margin, don't go and use up all your entire quota like an ape. Always assume that the market can crash 50% tomorrow. If you want to use, probably just use 10 to 20% of your margin and you should be alright. Anyway, that's all for this video. If you have any questions, just let me know down below and I will try to answer them. Like, share, subscribe as I'll be posting new videos every Monday, Wednesday and Friday.